If you ask most D&D players about their games, you're probably not going to get told about plot or arcs or character stuff, but instead you'll get told about moments. It's in the moments that a table will laugh with joy, cry with sadness, or cheer with victory. And it's in these moments that memories are made, and epic stories are created that get retold over and over again. So here's some tips and tricks learnt from some of the most beloved DMs on the planet that will help you keep these moments happening more and more often. The first tip is the rule of cool, which is described by Matthew Mercer as a willing suspension of disbelief for a cool moment. The rule of cool is where you as a DM let a player do something that may not be entirely within the rules or mechanics of the game because it's really damn cool. It's not about ignoring the rules, but massaging and bending them. And the rule of cool is so cool because of three things. The first is that really cool things happen, which gives players and tables that moment we're talking about that we want to find. The second thing is that it means that when you forget a rule or if something happens that you're unsure about, you can, as a one-time only thing, let the player just do what they want to do. No need to stop the game, no need to look anything up or have an argument with a rules lawyer. You just allow it, it happens, it's cool, and you move on, which is just great for the pacing of the game. And the third thing the rule of cool does is it encourages out-the-box thinking by your players. They will try and do that crazy, wacky thing they really want to do because there's a chance that you'll rule of cool it and allow it. Now, the rule does come with some caveats. The rules are there for a reason. They keep everything balanced and grounded, and you do need that. And there's also a chance that if you spoil your players too much with this, they'll start to just walk all over you. Also, different players like different levels of flexibility in the rules, so it is important to use it sparingly. One thing I like to do is add risk and reward to my rules of cools. Or you want to do that thing, but the rules don't necessarily allow it the way you want to do it? Well, roll for it. And if you succeed, you do the cool thing, and if you fail, something bad might happen. Matthew Mercer recommends talking to your players at the start of a campaign just to see how open to the rule of cool they are, and yeah, always talk to your players about these things and figure out what works. Okay, my next tip to give your players those cool, memorable moments: give out inspiration. Inspiration in D&D is a mechanic where if a player does something that the DM deems that they should reward in some way, they get a little mark on their character sheet, which they can then exchange for advantage on a roll in the future. So if you start giving out inspiration when players try to do really creative things, or roleplay in satisfying ways, or just do something the whole table loves, then that will all lead to these moments of pure happiness at the table. Positive reinforcement. If you want your players to do something more and more often, give them stuff when they do it. Ginny D, D&D YouTube superstar, has a really cool video about inspiration that I will link below. But in it, she suggests giving out inspiration for a ton of things, from role-playing your character's flaws, to creating moments of comedy genius, to even just being on time to your sessions. But she does say that you do need to remind your players about the inspiration often after you give it out because it's easy to forget. And my next tip is all about giving each player at your table something to excel at. If you know you have a player with high perception, give them something to perceive. If you have a rogue with high investigation, give them something to investigate. And if you see that some players tend to take the spotlight more than others, give the other players at the table a chance to shine by having a situation where their characters excel at it. Often these moments we're talking about are just about the players feeling seen and useful at the table. And this goes beyond just giving your players' characters more things to do. It's also about combat too. Combat can kind of feel like it's the damage dealers and the tanks doing all the work. Everyone else at the table only seems to see their high damage rolls, and they don't see anything else. If you find that combat after combat after combat, it's the same person getting the finishing blow every single time, there is something you can do there. And this is controversial. Next time you have your normal DPS do like 43 damage and just one-shot one of your monsters, lie and say their monster is still up. Rather than pulling its HP all the way down to 0, put it at 1. That way, when the wizard who hasn't killed anyone all campaign and it's been going for 10 months goes next in the initiative order, they get to kill the thing with their 3 damage. And you'll find when this happens, the whole table will have one of those moments. Everybody would cheer, even a DPS person that you cheated out of a kill, because they are really going to be happy seeing the wizard finally get there. How do you want to do this? But this really can be tied into any part of the game. If you have a player who just hasn't had that many of these moments, you can just give it to them. And I do kind of contradict myself here in my last point, but don't look too much into it. MCDM also have some great minion rules that you can download for free. I'll put the link to the PDF in the description, but pretty much the idea is you put a bunch of weak monsters who won't do much damage, that are easy to control, they all go at the same time, their turns are quick, you throw them into combat, and then everyone gets a chance to kill something. And combat in general will feel a lot more epic, so check that out. Okay, let's move on to my next tip, and it's another controversial one, but it's a very simple one. Make the game more challenging. And this is controversial because not everyone's idea of a good time is 4 hours of a stressful situation, and it can be hard to balance it all out. But if you do want to create these moments of pure joy or just amazement from your table, you have to give them something challenging to overcome. A game where the players are just swanning through everything on easy mode, no one's taking damage, never mind going down, every social encounter a breeze, every trap disarmed, every bad guy easy GG. It just does not have the same feeling as a game where the players truly feel like they're just getting through situations by the skin of their teeth. That can really create these moments. And if you want to know how to create these situations where it does feel like the players' characters are in serious danger here, but you don't actually want to put the players in those situations where a TPK, total party kill, could happen. You want them to feel challenged without them feeling like you're against them. I'm working on a video about how to do that at the moment, so make sure you subscribe. Which brings me on to my next point. Give up control. When I first started DMing, I wanted all these cool moments to happen often, so I planned for them, and it never went the way I wanted. You can't plan these moments. In fact, there's very little you can do as a DM to get these moments. These moments have to be created by the players themselves. The DM's just there to facilitate and guide them, and act as a referee of sorts. So the point here is, don't plan over the top for these moments, plan for situations and scenarios, sure, but when it comes to the individual moments, let your players take the reins a little bit more. You can't do what I did in my first few games, which was force characters into situations, or like whisper to a player like, hey, you want to do this, it'll be cool, I promise. You can't do that. You can rule of cool it, you can encourage players with inspiration, you can even change HP on enemies, or make the game harder and more suspenseful, but one thing you cannot do is force these moments. But there are ways to give your players more agency, and encourage them to work well as a party and move the story forwards themselves, which definitely leads to these moments a lot more often, and you can find out all about them in this video here, so go on, watch it.